We're entering the final 90 days of the year, the winter arc here and in full force. And this is a time of year, myself included, I can go so soft, and I've noticed over the years certain patterns which have always spiraled me into the most negative kind of headspace, and it is around these months when it's darker, colder, and motivation is just an absolute low. We're also covered a lot more, so it's easier to just throw on a hoodie. You don't even really see yourself in the gym, like in the actual mirrors anymore, and before you know it, you're just thinking, I'm just going to start fresh in January, and you kind of write this time of the year totally off. Whereas we are doing things differently. We are going to get ahead before January. January is always just that weird month, isn't it? Like post-Christmas blues. So we're starting today. There is no more wondering when summer comes around next year and we don't have the bodies. We're not where we want to be career-wise. We're wondering why we haven't got the promotion, or we're just not happy in our life. Like, this is your chance to restart, refocus, and get properly realigned with your deeper why and goals. So I'm going to take you through these 7 steps to totally transform your life in the next 90 days. So step 1 is having your own golden morning rituals. So mine is having my phone on charge in the kitchen, so that my phone is just never in my bedroom, and that means I don't end up on Instagram or social media or checking my work notifications first thing in the morning. And I have my phone on not just flight mode, but do not disturb as well. So you know, when you turn your phone off flight mode, you can be flooded with loads of notifications. Having it still on do not disturb stops this happening. So I can actually start a day with my morning meditation, because I use YouTube a lot of the time. So that is my ritual. And then my rule is I do not have my morning coffee until I've done my meditation, and whether that's journaling or like my little bit of mindset work first thing in the morning before I'm kind of disrupted or had anything in my brain. So that this is just purely coming from my thoughts and myself. Not having a coffee before meditating, always make sure that I do not skip on that as well. Make sure with your morning routine as well, it is actually something you look forward to. So I always make my favourite breakfast. I feel like during these months you just can't go wrong with hot protein oats. You can change the flavours super easily, and I just love having melted dark chocolate on top, peanut butter, and I always go for something higher carb before training in the morning. So this is my current obsession. Okay, second step is the focus and how your micro habits quickly ripple into macro habits. I would be training most days a week, but it wouldn't be intentional, and you've probably heard that word flung around here, there and everywhere. I was on my phone so much in between sets. I was taking calls, and if I ever trained later on in the day, so say not early morning, you know, when like your calls are coming in, your work stuff, if you're training on your lunch break, say, it would just be really hard, or I would just remember 1,000,001 things. So I wouldn't be training with intention. I'd just kind of be distracted, so I wasn't getting the most out of my sessions. So what I do now is actually time my rest times, and I'll listen to like a podcast or even a YouTube video, because you can't, if you've not got the premium one, you can't click off it, so you're not then tempted to go on Instagram. And I just think our attention span is quite limited because of how short form has changed over time. Like, we think, you know, we're just constantly chasing that dopamine. So this has really rippled out from one small micro habit, so just being able to focus solely on your reps, training to failure, and just actually concentrating on yourself. Then when you're going about your day, when you're working, when you're at your laptop, you'll also be able to tap into that same energy and that focus that is so difficult to actually find. So phone always on do not disturb, and then you can just show up fully present. And it's the same with like when you're with friends and family, you know, when you're just distracted and you're on your phone, like you're in the same room but you're not actually present, and it's such a different energy. Like, I know I'm so guilty of that, and it's something that I'm trying to be conscious of, like leaving my phone elsewhere. Like if I'm with my friends or family and being totally off my phone. Third step is accepting the messy days and embracing your quirks. So not everything about you needs to be fixed or changed. I feel like if you're listening to this video and you're into a lot of self-help as well, it's really easy to think, right, I need to change this, I need to work on this, when actually parts of ourselves that maybe aren't the most glamorous or maybe aren't our favourite parts are actually the most positive parts of our personality and what make us actually unique. And I think sometimes when we try and just constantly change every aspect of ourselves, it's just not only draining important, but it just doesn't always need to be seen as negative. And I think you can actually take the charge out of what you're labeling as negative or bad part of yourself and reframe it. So you know when someone kind of labels the elephant in the room, it immediately takes that like sting out of something, or immediately makes it kind of less powerful when you just own it. And it's like, you know, when you meet certain people in your life and they're just unapologetic and they're so magnetic, and you want to be around that energy, and they might not be the most like the best looking person in the world or have the best personality, but it draws you in when someone is just comfortable in their own skin. And it also makes you feel like you can be comfortable in your skin as well. When you feel safe in your body and embrace yourself fully, I feel like this is when you can actually start changing and actually just accepting that we all have our flaws and not trying to be this perfect version of ourselves that doesn't really exist anyway. And off the back of this, you're not supposed to have it all figured out. None of us actually do. And also things can only come from you. Like you can only truly change when you are ready. Like you've heard that saying, you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink. So that's why you're listening to this right here, right now. Then the next step is around your nutrition. So you want to define your goal, get really clear on it so that you can actually know how to fuel whatever transformation it is that you're going after. Your nutrition is literally the foundation of any result. It's a good time to stop guessing and get specific about what you actually want to achieve over these 90 days. Do you want to build muscle? Do you want to shed overall body fat? Or do you want to body recomposition? So not necessarily be about fat loss or weight loss, but you want to change the composition of your whole body. And when you get clear on that why, this is when real change can actually begin, because you have something specific that you're working to. And it doesn't have to be just a physical external goal. It could literally just be like, I really want to get fitter and feel more physically fit so that I'm able to go up a flight of stairs without totally puffing away. So decide on that specific goal and stop doing what hasn't worked in the past. Like this is something I kept repeating because I never really addressed that, right, this actually isn't working. And it's about committing to a new approach and also knowing that it's not going to be the most comfortable thing in the world. Inside my Flowness Club, this is where I can help you with your specific goals. So say if you're trying to calculate your macros for your goal so that it's all in alignment, I can help you with that step by step, because I know how overwhelming that can be. A goal with your nutrition as well could be increasing your protein intake and actually consistently being able to hit that. I know it's really common to think that you need all the supplements, you need to be having 2 to 3 protein shakes, but it really doesn't need to be that complicated. You can get so much protein from actual real whole foods, and just adding in a little bit more lean meat goes such a long way and makes it a lot more manageable to be able to consistently hit a protein goal. And when your nutrition aligns with your vision, this is really when you can see actual changes and transformation, and also it's more sustainable, and that's what's going to be what you can actually maintain. Like there's no point doing these diets that are just temporary and don't really work for that long. 5th step, pardon the pun, is daily steps and progress on the move. So one reason why I not only love daily step goals for, say if it's a fat loss goal or just trying to maintain your current weight or just be healthy in general, is that it's one of those things that you can really easily make into something social, something where you use that time to learn something, kind of gives you that time for you every single day, and you can divide it up as many times as you like to make it more manageable. And you can also do it inside in the winter months. So one of the best things I did was getting a walking pad. So say if I'm working and I'm sat at my desk, like I used to kind of get backache anyway, so getting a walking pad was a game changer. The only time I've ever been able to lower my body fat, say, is from having a daily step goal and increasing my TDE through steps alongside my gym workouts. So I couldn't recommend that more. And it's one of those things that's like, you can do steps anywhere, as in like you can go to the food shop with your friend, with your partner, whereas say if you were to say, instead of a step goal, I'm going to do an hour cardio every single day, it's not very realistic. And a lot of like cardio machines, so you can't exactly call someone on the elliptical bike or the cross trainer. I'd even struggle on the Stairmaster to hold a conversation like if you're actually pushing yourself, and it's kind of like antisocial. Whereas I feel like steps is something that you can implement into your daily lifestyle. Like you can go for a walk with your partner after your meal, or with your grandparents even. It might be a bit slower, but do you see my gist, how you can multitask with certain goals like this? Obviously getting outside, you're getting some vitamin, well, not much sunshine in the winter, but small efforts like that really build in some momentum. So I always set myself a 10 to 13k step goal each day, and that's probably been one of the most life-changing transformations. And once you get into a flow, it gets easier as well. I'm not used to having a step goal, it feels really challenging, but it quickly becomes part of your lifestyle, and then you're like more of an active human. You can even do like power hours in your house, getting your steps and whatnot. So our next step is the non-negotiable discipline. Now, immediately I feel like you're thinking of this long list that you feel like you should be doing, when before you set your daily non-negotiables, make sure it's actually something that you can keep up over these 90 days and is realistic. Please, I beg. But the magic is in the work that you're avoiding, but it can be done in a more manageable way. I feel like the quickest way that we can set ourselves up for failure is by just making it unattainable in the first place. So start with just like, right, what would I really like to achieve over these next few months? What habits would I really like to keep consistent? Then you can kind of break things down. Like, say if you've got this vision of your dream life and you don't know how to get from A to B, what we want to do is look at, okay, this dream life is a dream life because of the daily processes that you do each and every day. They're the things that are fulfilling, they're fun, and if your everyday processes aren't actually fulfilling you, then that isn't your dream life. Now, that's not to say there isn't a lot of hard work involved and that it doesn't entail that alongside it, but they should kind of be connected somewhat. And that's not also to say that some days you're not going to feel like doing things that you should be doing and keeping that discipline, but just looking at things like, oh, maybe there's a different avenue that you could work towards. And a little tip that I'd recommend you doing is just taking away, say if money was out of the equation totally, or say if it was your dream physique that you already had that, would you still do that thing day in, day out? And I think if you quickly realise, no, I probably wouldn't do that, then maybe that isn't the goal. Like, there needs to be other levers. Like, say if you're only working out just for an aesthetic, like it should be deeper things as well as that, like alongside your health for longevity. Something that we forget as well is our subconscious mind wants to keep us in the familiar, it wants to keep us in the past. And when you start embodying this new persona, you're trying to change habits, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing. Like, you'll have moments of doubt, you'll have days where you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing this right, and your ego will really try and pull you back. But this is where it's super important to just keep showing up. You're going to have days as well that you totally backtrack, as in feel like you've gone 5 steps forwards, 50 steps back, and then the self-sabotage comes in. You can feel guilty around days like this, but that is just part of the process. Like, do not worry. And the more you're just authentic and real with yourself, the more that you can just keep showing up, even if every day is not perfect. Like, it's not going to be like that, and don't think anyone else has it any easier. Like, we all have those moments and days that just don't go to plan, and the more you keep showing up and the weeks pass, you can then attract things, and before you know it, you're just like, oh, this is who I am. Things stick, some don't stick as well. Like, certain practices just might not be for you, like you can let them go as well, but you just want to make sure that you're in the driver's seat of your life, not your ego and not your doubtful mind trying to keep you small and not consistent. A lot of the magic is in the work that we're avoiding mostly a lot of the time because it's the hard thing. Next step is mastering your energy and optimizing for performance. So this is one thing that I'd say I've properly really learned and looked at over this past 6 months, and it has been since I've set more strategic fitness goals, because you've got to look at your energy as like a bank. You need to have enough deposits for rest, sleep, recovery, to then cover your withdrawals from, say if it's intense training, focus and work. And when you neglect, say if you're just constantly training 7 days a week, which is what I did for years, like training 6 to 7 days a week, I never really got anywhere, and I was so fatigued all the time. I was very inflamed, and it was only when I actually reduced my intensity, trained with more intention, dropped my gym workouts to 4 days, that I saw the biggest shift in not only my motivation but how I felt, quality of my sessions. And it's kind of made me look at other parts of my life, because I really noticed I found it so hard to just be, as in everything that I was doing at one point had to be somewhat productive. So if I was on a walk, I had to be listening to a podcast, and of course I love doing that, but there's a time and place where I think we just need to actually be in our energy, be in our presence with ourselves, and sometimes literally just get bored. Like, that is just as productive, and it might not sound as glamorous and isn't something I definitely see spoken about enough, but you want times and spaces where you can buffer and literally just think creatively. Like, I feel like I've had my best ideas, as in things that have like come to me when I've actually had more of this time, and it creates more time. Like, I was also someone, I was just like, I'm so busy all the time, like how could I ever have time to do nothing? And you'd be surprised how quickly you actually get bored when you give yourself that time, like off your phone, undistracted. So just treating yourself differently and knowing that rest and just restoring your brain, recharging, is just as productive. And I even did it last week. I'd been working non-stop for I don't know how many weeks, and like I hadn't had a proper weekend, not even a day off on a weekend, which isn't something that I like to do. Like, I definitely like to take some time for myself, and then my body kind of forced me to stop. And I noticed I took a morning off last Sunday and literally just went and sat with Mason, stared at, I think, the sea. I can't tell you how energized I felt. Like even that afternoon and the following day, like I felt like, oh, I can't wait to get back to my laptop tomorrow. I can't wait to go and train. Whereas when you're just constantly like all firing, it's hard to ever get that recovery and proper rest. And an analogy I quite like is building a house. So many people would be put off thinking, oh my God, I need to build a whole house and I've got to start with this one brick, that they just would never start. Whereas if you just focus on laying the best brick that day, over a year, 2 years, you're going to have a house, no doubt about it, like with that time. And it's kind of like life, like you need to make sure that you're laying the foundations day by day, not just expecting to build a house in a day. You know, I love an analogy at this point. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this winter arc video. I hope you've enjoyed this one and it's been useful. I hope you're also ready to lock in, focus and finish off this year strong, and possibly stronger than you started. You are so capable. All you have to do is just start making those little small, what may seem incremental at first, steps, and you'll quickly see them compounding over these next few months. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and can't wait to see you in the next video.